republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This is a bit of a deja vu for me today. How's the sound? Okay? Okay. It's a bit of a deja vu for me. 35 years ago, I was privileged and honored to come out here and help dedicate this eternal flame to the veterans of Vietnam. And today I'm very privileged and honored to be out here today to say a few words about a man whom I greatly admire, Senator John McCain. In recent weeks, General Wesley Clark, who supports Senator Obama, made comments about Senator McCain's flying over an enemy ground, bailing out of an aircraft, no big deal, landing on the ground, being captured for 5.5 years. There's no criteria for becoming president. And he's right, it is no criteria for becoming president. But we are all the sum of our life experiences. And I dare say John McCain's had more than his share of life experiences. And I'd like to share with you what I know about his early years in Vietnam. He was shot down in 1967, about a year after I had been captured, so I was at a different camp at that time, but I'll tell you how I later became very familiar with it. John was shot down right over Hanoi, and he bailed out at very high speed out of an A4, landed in the middle of a lake in the middle of Hanoi, had a broken leg and a broken arm, and they fished him out, put him into a cell, and then they started checking his identification. All of a sudden they realized something, that they had a real prize here because his father was Admiral McCain, who was the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific, the highest ranking military officer in the Pacific at that time. And of course, with their propensity to use propaganda to the very fullest, they thought, we can use this guy, we can get him to cooperate in any way, shape, or form. So they took him to the hospital, they put his arm and his leg in a cast, told him what great treatment he was getting, and then took him back and put him in a cell with one other wounded man, POW, and another POW who was not wounded. And the one who was not wounded kind of helped take care of those two. And they started the soft cell on John, and after several months they figured this didn't go to cell, so they pulled him out of that cell, put him in a solitary, and he stayed in solitary for months and months, enduring some excruciating pain. They eventually re-broke his arm and put him through a lot of torture.
How you doing?
And he survived all that because he loves his country, he's courageous, and he has integrity. Now I came about knowing this some years later, about 3 years later. I ended up living in a cell with John and 17 other fellows. And our senior ranking officer in that cell was a man by the name of George Bud Day. And George Day, is Bud Day as we know him, is, I believe today, is the most highly decorated veteran living, including the Congressional Medal of Honor. And Bud was our senior officer. Well, Bud was the other wounded guy who was in that cell. So he was with Bud, with John, or in adjacent cells where they communicated through their tap code for months on end. And I think was probably helping John through those hard times. And so I'll tell you today, that's just one of his experiences of a lifetime that has made him capable of being our president and our commander-in-chief today. I thank you. And I would like at this time to introduce Tim Shepard, a former 82nd Airborne man who has some words to say. Tim? Where are you at? Here we go, over here.
How do you do? My name is Tim Shepard, and I was asked to talk about why Senator McCain means so much to our, not only our nation, but as a leader and future president of the nation. You recognize the sacrifices that all veterans have made. In Nevada, 16% of the population are veterans. Senator McCain has introduced bills in 2003 granting benefits, special benefits for National Guard reservists that are currently serving overseas or on active duty, that would allow them to pass on their benefits to their chosen person. It's a very important benefit. He has increased the pay for our men and women in the armed forces. He's introduced special tax relief to deployed members who are sent overseas and in special overseas savings programs. This week, Senator Obama has finally decided to go and speak to our commanders overseas, our leaders, our generals, commanders, company commanders, and talk to them and actually get that first-hand knowledge. Unfortunately, he's waited over 2 years since his last visit to Iraq, and I believe that he had his first visit ever to Afghanistan. He mentioned this weekend that victory in Afghanistan is paramount. It's great to find out that he finally realizes that, and that not only is victory in Afghanistan important, victory in Iraq is important. Our veterans have made great sacrifices. Over 4,000 individuals have given their lives as volunteers for the freedom of the Iraqi people and the Afghani people. Unfortunately, Senator Obama is in a learning curve. He doesn't have the experience that we as veterans are looking for. He also mentioned in today's USA Today, it was a very interesting point that he had made when he was talking to the Iraqi Premier Maliki about timetables, that he would not stick to any hardline timetables. It's good that he's realized that. Unfortunately, he then mentioned in the very same sentence that he would not necessarily defer to our military commanders as to what will the timetable be or troop levels. Unfortunately, he's probably going to end up deferring to someone like Senator Reid, Barbara Pelosi, Barbara Boxer. That's not what this nation needs. That's not what our veterans need. This nation needs a strong commander, someone who's experienced, and that's Senator McCain. Unfortunately, it took Senator Obama to run for president to, actually go to the commanders and troop in Iraq and Afghanistan. Senator Obama, although again this weekend he states that victory in Afghanistan is very important, he voted against providing funding for operations in Afghanistan. How do you achieve victory without funding? You cannot. One thing that I'd want Senator Obama to do is to go back to that history book when he was a young man, and some of the individuals here were not such young men, and to look at that photo of that embassy in Saigon, that long ladder of people going up to those helicopters trying to get out of that nation. If we pull out of Iraq, that will be repeated, and we cannot have that. The sacrifices that our people have made, our soldiers have made, will be wasted. In closing, I'd like to mention one thing. As I pointed out, 16% of the Nevada are veterans. 144 years ago, there was an election. It was an unpopular war, an unpopular president. He was being degraded, run down, told that this war couldn't be won, that we need to give up. Nevada was a battle-born state, and it was a battleground state. Nevada again is a battle-born state and a battleground state. Like we did in 1864, this November, all Nevadans need to back the one candidate who's for victory. We backed Abraham Lincoln in 1864. We need to back Senator John McCain in November of 2008. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce Mike Kerrigan here. He's a retired aviator. Mike Kerrigan.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Yeah, for all, those of you that don't know me, I'm also a Spark City councilman, and I did get my visa stamped today, so I'm allowed to be in Reno for 30 minutes. Bob Cashel said it was okay. I just wanted to say one thing, and that is thank all of you vets out there for your sacrifice to your country, because without your sacrifice, we wouldn't be allowed to stand here today and talk about the next president of the United States. So thank all of you. And the other thing that my family knows is that after being in the military for so long and being on the ground, my subspecialty was in intelligence, and I spent some time overseas in a couple countries that I wasn't invited to. I always get the seat next to the wall so I can see everybody coming in the restaurants. So this is really bugging me that there's only 4 people in front of me and a whole bunch of people standing behind me. So everybody behind me, check my seats for me, okay? And if anybody tries to rush me from behind, let me know. Thank you. You know, Senator John McCain has been refining his foreign policy skills for more than 20 years.